Mr. Speaker, in a letter sent on March 18th to the Quebec Minister of Finance, we learned that the Conservative government has refused to compensate Quebec for having harmonized its sales tax. Under the agreement on harmonization with the GST, which dates back to 1992, Quebec collects and administers the tax, and it's working very well. Why is the Prime Minister so obstinate about wanting to scuttle an agreement that has been working since 1992 and refusing to indemnify Quebec to the tune of $2.2 billion? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this government respects the agreement signed in 1992. Mr. Speaker, this shows that there are two taxes in Quebec collected by the Quebec government. We compensate Quebec financially for that. The Quebec government expressed an interest on a true harmonization like other provinces have done, and we are prepared to continue to negotiate with them to arrive at an agreement of that nature. The Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. This harmonization dates back to 1992. It's not a false harmonization. It's not a bogus one. It's a real one. And it's quoted as an example by all governments since 1992. So this is pig-headedness on the part of the government. It's in its attempt to deprive the government of $2.2 billion that it needs. Why is the government so stubbornly trying to impose these federal shackles on Quebec? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Bloc does not have the facts straight. The tax has not been harmonized in Quebec like it has in the other provinces. There are two taxes in Quebec collected by the Quebec government. With the other provinces, we have an agreement to harmonize. There is only one tax. Mr. Speaker, we are seeking an agreement like that with the government of Quebec. It would be in the interest of all Quebecers and industries. The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. On page 61 of 71 of the budget, the government identified 5 provinces that had not harmonized their taxes, and Quebec wasn't part of that. So in fact, that's proof that we've been harmonized since 1992. Now the Minister of Finance is saying the opposite. Is it simply a pretext to not do justice to the Quebec nation under the watchful eye of the token Quebecers in his caucus? 0 for Quebec. Billions for Ontario. The Honourable Minister of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Discussions with the Quebec Minister of Finance will continue. We have made some progress, but we are facing challenges. Challenges with respect to the true harmonization, like the harmonization in BC, Ontario, and in the Maritime provinces. So we will continue these discussions between the two governments. The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. Mr. Speaker, up until the Conservatives were elected, a loss of 5% of the tax base was one of the conditions to allow for compensation following harmonization of taxes. The Minister of Finance, a former Ontario Minister of Finance, dropped that condition to, in fact, accommodate his province to the tune of $4.3 billion. Why is the minister able to be so open-minded when it comes to Quebec, to enable Quebec to continue to collect the two taxes? The Honourable Minister of Finance. With harmonization, there's only one tax, not two taxes. With the Quebec government, we are facing some challenges like that. We want one tax, not two taxes. There needs to be only one tax to have a true harmonization in the case of Quebec.